Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 141 of the Mo Money Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Morehouse. Thank you so much for joining me for another fabulous episode. And this one really is fabulous because it's a little bit spicy, a little bit fiery, because we're talking about fire. In case you don't know what that acronym stands for, and I think we talked about it a little bit in Tanya's episode from Our Next Life. That's episode 133 if you're interested. FIRE is an acronym for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It is a whole movement that I kind of discovered, in the past couple months or past 6 months or whatever. And I really got to know it when I went to FinCon this past fall. And I am totally sold. I think it's so cool that there's kind of this movement that is promoting people to not just save and invest for retirement, but try to go a step further and reach financial independence and retire early. And so I kind of go in depth, deconstruct what FIRE is all about with my next guest, Bob Lai from Tawcan.com. And he is on the road to reach financial independence. I think he actually mentioned in the episode that technically he could be considered financially independent at this moment, but he wants to continue to work and earn money, save money, and invest for his kind of dream of living anywhere with his family and just living it up, living that best life. So we really get in deep about, a couple really interesting things. He has so much knowledge in that brain of his. So I'm so glad I kind of just bombarded him with questions like, what's the difference between financial independence and financial freedom? We're talking kind of happiness and joy and balance and why that's so important to the FIRE movement. And then we even kind of go real deep into okay, let's talk, strategy. How can I grow my money to an amount that would allow me to become completely financially independent? So we go into all of this really great stuff in this episode. So if you wanted an episode that was about investing, you are in luck. But before I get to that interview, here's just a few words about this episode's sponsor. Support for this episode comes from Tangerine Investments. Did you know that according to a recent study by Tangerine, over a quarter of Canadians, 28% to be specific, are committing to better money management practices for 2018? Did you also know that 63% of Canadians feel that investing is scary? If you're nodding your head right now because you're in one, if not both of those groups, then let's turn those New Year's resolutions into actionable goals this year. And let's start by getting you over that fear of investing so you can start working toward reaching your financial goals. Not sure where to start? Why not start by checking out Tangerine? Tangerine offers investment funds that are low cost and they follow a simple approach that doesn't require you to be an expert. Tangerine offers 5 diversified portfolios that are recommended based on your needs, risk tolerance, and investment goals. The best part? You can get started online in minutes and their investment experts are just a phone call away if needed. You can learn more at tangerine.ca/investments. Once again, that's tangerine.ca/investments. Thank you, Bob, for joining me on the Mo Money Podcast.
Hello.
I'm so excited to chat with you because, you're a fellow Vancouverite, and I always love talking to Vancouver bloggers. There's not a lot of you. I was just at CPFC recently, the Canadian Personal Finance Conference, which is organized by Crystal from Give Me Back My $5, who lives in Vancouver now. And she's like, there's not a ton of us anymore. And she got mad at me for moving away.
Yeah, there aren't too many of us. However, I know there's a few here and there now.
Maybe there's some new ones
maybe
popping
new
up.
ones popping up. So maybe we'll hear more about them.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. That's cool. But yeah, I really wanted to get you on the show because, not only are you from Vancouver, but you're also a FIRE person in that you are all about trying to reach that end goal of early retirement, which not only is that awesome, but I find that I'm so interested to know how the heck you're going to try to do that because you live in Vancouver, one of the most expensive cities in the world. You have a family, you have kids, and you're currently also working a day job and you do the blog and all that kind of stuff. So you're a very busy person. But before that, I have a ton of questions for you. But before that, sure. I really want to get a sense of where you come from. What is your background? You started your blog, Tawcan, a little while ago, but I'd love to know, where you got the idea for that. And you also talk a lot about on the blog dividend investing. So I'd like to kind of jump into that as well. But first, let's go back a little bit. Were you always a big money nerd?
I am. So like my dad was an early retiree.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so
Oh.
he retired in his 40s, and so we always talk about money growing up, and money wasn't a taboo subject.
Wow.
In my
What age did he retire at?
Early 40s.
Oh, wow. That is early. Wow.
Yeah. So we always talk about money, and my parents got us involved in money subject pretty early on, like, financial decisions and things like that.
Oh, that's nice.
So I've always been a money nerd per se. And and I've been reading blogs like yours and other bigger bloggers for a while. And just like, hey, I know a lot of stuff, but do I want to start a blog? So I was thinking back and forth for almost 6 months. And because there were stuff that I wasn't comfortable about writing, like net worth, for example, or sharing net worth with people on the internet, where
I still I'm not telling people my net worth. I'm just like a little afraid someone will somehow figure out how to crack into my bank account.
So there are various subjects that I wasn't comfortable sharing on the internet, and then I just talking to my wife, and the more we talk, the more it makes sense for me to start a blog.
Yeah.
So I started one with the rule that I wouldn't share my net worth, and if you look at my dividend portfolio, I don't share how many shares we own. So there's some more personal, sensitive topics I don't share.
Yeah, you kind of keep some things private. Yeah,
otherwise, I'm pretty open in terms of sharing my knowledge. And the idea was just share my knowledge with other people and sort of journal what I want to do to achieve financial independence, early retirement. My focus has always been reaching financial independence rather than early retirement.
Okay, what is the difference, actually?
Well,
what is the difference between those?
So financial independence just means your passive income equals or exceeds your expenses. That's pretty simple. Whereas early retirement, like once you get to that point, you could retire from your job, for example. Right. But a lot of people, you look on the internet, like Mr. Money Mustache and a few other folks, they still work in a different capacity. Maybe not like Mr. Money Mustache I think he was a software programmer, but now he works as a carpenter because he likes doing that, right? So for him, it's not a job. But you look at like when his stories gets published on the major media, people are he's still working and so on. But it's not the same, right? So my focus has been financial independence, and if I decide to retire early, I could do that, but I could still work because I enjoy what I do at work. So gives me more flexibilities, and I'm not setting a specific date when I want to get there. So my whole thing is about flexibility. So I said roughly say 9 years we'll reach that. But really, if we want to do it today, we could do it. Like Vancouver real estate is crazy, so we sell the house and then move to somewhere in the world like Southeast Asia. I'm from Taiwan originally. So that's a lot cheaper there. Like I'm from Taiwan, that's why my name is Tawcan, so Taiwanese Canadian.
Yeah. So is it cheaper in Taiwan? I thought it was expensive there.
So, well, it depends where you are. And I mean, cost, like if you're in Taipei, the house rental would be kind of pricey. Right. But food-wise is like cheap, right? So so it also depends on which area you live, right? So or I guess my wife's from Denmark, it would be a lot more expensive moving there for sure, right? But we could also move, say, maybe not Toronto, maybe Ottawa would be a little bit cheaper than Vancouver, right? So
Montreal is pretty cheap, but
Montreal
again, French is kind of a thing there.
So my whole thing is about flexibilities and just the whole. If you check my blog, the whole I keep talking about finding the right personal balance. Yeah. In terms of spending for today. Yeah. And saving for the future. You can't. Yeah, sure. We could go the extreme, like saving 99% of our income, but we don't enjoy our life today, or we could spend it all and we won't have a future. So it's really finding that personal balance. Yeah. And And I don't like going the extreme because you're not going to enjoy your life today.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's like, it's not sustainable. Like you can be extreme for a bit, but eventually you'll burn out, you'll go crazy, and you might undo all that good work you just did.
Exactly. So that was my whole blog. And I also focused quite a bit on life philosophy, like how to be happy, like things I learned along the way were into a lot of these self-improvement books. So when I rewind or I talk to my wife about it, then I tend to write an article on that topic. So
I would love to know your perspective on how to be happy. Do you have the answer?
Yeah,
I've been looking.
So the whole happiness is about, there's two terms, right? So happy and joy. Oh. So happy is more external driven.
Okay.
There's an expiry date that's called.
Right, because happiness, you can only be happy for a bit and then it kind of goes away.
So like you get a raise or you got something new that makes you happy. But joy is more internal driven. So like it's like you're at peace, or you're playing with your kids and you're just like having a joyful moment. Aww. And that difference is pretty big. So you shouldn't try to achieve happiness. I mean, you should try to achieve joy. And joy there's no time expiry, right? Because if you like right now, if I think about playing with my kids, I kind of feel joyful, right? So whereas you can think about that computer you bought on Black Friday, and you're like, oh, do I really should I buy that or shouldn't I? So
it sounds a lot like the differences. Well, you mentioned those like happiness. Those are kind of little bit limited moments, and sometimes they are tied to like maybe a material thing. But it sounds like joy is more tied with experiences and people.
Exactly.
And so it's like shifting your focus kind of that way.
Exactly. And that's why you need to focus, especially when it comes to FIRE, right?
Yeah.
What do you buy stuff, or do you buy experience?
Yeah.
And that's why we focus more on the experience side, go out, like, traveling, even it's okay to go out and eat, right? If it's
still an experience
thing. So it again, it's finding the right personal balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually, it's interesting. The more people I talk to, especially like, younger people and younger generations, it does seem like their shift is on, they still spend and still, overspend, but their shift is more on spending their money on experiences rather than stuff. I mean, people still buy stuff, obviously, but and I'm like, I wonder where that shift came. Is it just because, we saw our parents spend a certain way, we wanted to do something different? Are we all just reading a lot more self-help books? I don't know. Is it because we're realizing that, it's like, when I think back to some like the memories of like some good experiences, hanging out with friends or family, going on trips, I feel, it's like I have this joy feeling. It's not like a happy kind of like, oh, that's nice, and then I forget about it, which is the feeling I get when I like buy something I've been looking forward to, and then I'm happy for like 2 minutes, and then I'm like, it's just a thing. So that's interesting. And I actually didn't even know really that there's a big difference between financial independence and retiring early. Like I knew and also this was another question I had too, and it might just be a very simple answer. I feel like lots of people use financial independence and financial freedom interchangeably. Is that accurate? Are they the same thing?
Depends who you talk to. So financial independence, again, it's when your income, your passive income exceeds your expenses, right? Whereas financial freedom, it's more a loose term. Some people use it interchangeably with financial independence. How I define it is financial freedom means you don't even need to worry about your passive income. So your passive income is so big that it doesn't matter if you change your lifestyle, right? So for example, say you reach financial independence by having enough passive income for, let's throw a number, $40,000 a year. That's your expense. So you could reach financial independence by having passive income for $40,000. So that's times 25. That's $1 million in your portfolio, right? But that doesn't give you financial freedom, because if you're living off 40,000, that probably means you're not traveling a lot, you're not eating out loud, all that stuff. So what if your passive income gives you let's say $120,000 a year. That gives you a lot more flexibility. Right? You could change your lifestyle a little bit. You could probably enjoy your life a little bit, go out, eat, traveling, all that stuff. So that's where I see the difference. Financial independence is more maintaining your current lifestyle versus financial freedom is you have the freedom to change your lifestyle as you see fit.
Oh, wow. That's a really good answer. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now that you are on this journey to reach financial independence, like where did you start and what is your journey? Like what is your strategy to get there?
I've been saving since I started university, but I was putting them in like mutual funds and GICs.
As we're told to do, you know, that's
so kind of in my early 20s and
you're investing in like university days. Like that's probably ahead of the curve still.
I guess so. And then just as I learned more about stocks and so on, I bought a stock before the financial crisis. Yeah. So that went down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, the interest rate went down. So I was like, oh, I could hold this stock. It was paying dividend and I was getting better rate than I would otherwise in GIC. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep holding it. The bank it's Intact Financial. It used to be called ING. Yeah. And back then I didn't even know ING, like, cause there's the bank, right?
Yeah.
ING Bank, which is now Tangerine. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know it's different. So I was like, oh, ING, I know the company, so I'll just continue to hold it. And turns out it's two different segments and they sold it to, ING later sold it to Intact Financial. But then like, I know the insurance company as well because we use them for house insurance. My parents do. Yeah. So I just continue holding the shares and thinking, oh, it's not going to go bankrupt. It'll probably come back. Yeah. And it did. And, you know, I've been getting dividend and the dividend keeps increasing over the years. And, I got my money worth back from I think dividends, and then share price has been increasing. This has been 10 years. Oh, wow. So that was my first dividend stock. And since then, I mean, I was investing dividends in stocks in other like non-dividend paying stocks, but my core has been dividend stocks. Yeah,
I want to just stop you there because I feel like there may be a few people listening that may not know, like they're just starting to learn about investing. You mentioned that there's two kind of types of stocks. There's ones that pay dividends. There's some that don't. Do you want to explain that a little bit further so people can understand like what is the difference between the two?
Sure. So stocks, typically a company would IPO to get money from the market, right? So you see Facebook, they needed more money to bring into their company so they could invest that money. So they went IPO to get, and then the stock price shot up because people thought Facebook is a good company. So a lot of these companies, they IPO, so they get their stock listed on the stock market, and that's a way for everyday people like us to own a share of the company. Yeah, and most of these companies, because they're still trying to grow their profit, they don't pay out any dividends. So they want to reinvest the money they get from they want to reinvest their revenue, basically, right? Whereas their company, they're so big, they feel rather than reinvesting these revenue profit, they could share the profit to their shareholders. Right. So these are typically bigger companies like, you know, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson. Apple started paying dividends a while ago because they're just sitting on billions and billions of money of dollars, right? So so that's the difference. So typically dividend paying companies are bigger, they're more mature. Yeah. So they could give money out to shareholders.
So what I guess would be, I mean, I feel like, okay, I totally see the benefit in investing in companies that give dividends. is the, thinking that investing in stocks that don't pay dividends, well, maybe eventually if I get in kind of early because you're young and growing and I feel like their value will increase, you're kind of just getting on the ground floor, and eventually, hopefully they will be like Apple where they do eventually pay dividends. Is that kind of the strategy?
Yeah. So on my blog, I only talk about dividend stocks, and also I do invest in ETFs. Index ETFs. So I do a hybrid approach. So that's my core. So I invest in dividend paying companies and index ETFs like Vanguard ETFs and such.
Yeah.
So that's my core. Yeah. And I do also invest on like the more, call it riskier stocks, like non-dividend paying stocks, for example. So like, the Facebook, the Google, the Amazon, for example, those are bigger names. All three of those don't pay dividends, but they're sitting on billions and billions of cash in their bank account. So eventually they might start paying dividends. Mm-hmm. So the argument with some people is that, you're investing in dividend stocks. Those are more conservative, more mature companies, whereas non-dividend paying companies, they might grow faster, right? You look at Facebook, Amazon. Right. So I do my core investing in dividend and index ETFs. And then outside of that, a small percentage of my portfolio, I then do the
dabble.
Googles. Yeah, like, it might grow 10 times. So it's more riskier. That's why I don't talk about it on my blog.
Right. Because it's like there is the risk that it could not do well, but there's the risk that it could. Yeah. And that's why, as you kind of mentioned, it's good to have a good balance. You want to be diversified. You don't want to just invest in individual stocks and that's it, because, you're just investing your money in a limited amount of assets. So you want to be kind of more spread out in case something happens, because yes, another recession will happen. This is cyclical. Yeah. These things happen.
And for the most part, if you're just starting, investing in index ETFs is a good idea. Mm-hmm. Because, picking dividend stocks do take a lot of time.
Like how much time and research did it take for you to really decide on like what I'm going to invest in? Like it's, quite a bit of work.
It is. I mean, by now our portfolio is maybe, I think, to be honest, we hold too many stocks. So our dividends portfolio, I think we hold like something like 60 individual stocks. Mm-hmm. Would be good to trim it down to somewhere around 40 to 50. Right. So it does takes about a lot of time to, because you need to look at like typically there's a website that some people put out, like for example, all the Canadian dividend companies and the ones that have been raising dividend over the years. And so you get a list and then you start filtering, like you look at P ratio, the payout ratio, dividend growth rate, and then that's kind of my initial filter. And then once I pick a few, like say 15, then I do a deeper dive. Like you look at the PEG ratio, you look at their earning over the years. Yeah. You start looking at their financial reports, like quarterly results and annual reports. Yeah. And you could start looking at their balance sheet, and that's where it takes a lot of time. Yeah. Right. So like, and the thing is, if it's say Royal Bank, right, that's one of the biggest banks in Canada. Mm-hmm. It's a solid company. So the thing you need to, if you're buying Royal Bank, to be honest, you don't really need to do that much research, right? It's a solid company. It just, you need to figure out at what price it's good, right? And that's a tough thing to do. Mm-hmm.
And I guess kind of like what lots of people do is you can kind of make, I don't know what the proper term is, but kind of a test account. So you don't have to like put in your money, but I know, I think Google has one and there's a couple ones where you can kind of a practice account basically, which is I think always a good way to get comfortable. Exactly. And you'll realize how emotional it can be when it goes up and down. Like,
they're actually, I don't know if there are still these websites, because there used to be, like when I was growing up, there are these websites. You start with $50,000 and you could compete with other people for say a month or 3 months kind of thing. So that's a way to get your feet dirty on investing. But yeah, it does take a bit of time to do the research, especially when you get to smaller dividend paying companies.
Right.
The ones that are just starting to pay dividends and you don't know them that well. So that would require a bit more research and just evaluate. That's why I think if you're starting out today, index ETFs is the way to go. Pick like three index ETFs, a Canadian one, a US one, well, a Canadian one, an international, and bond.
Yeah.
Bond is another touchy subject because
is it?
Because I think what's the formula? I think it's you're supposed to own certain percentage bond based on your age.
Right. Yes.
That's been the historic. I don't even know the formula. I should.
Yeah.
But with the low interest rate today, I don't know if that makes sense because you're parking that much money in bond, earning less than 1%. Is it really worth it? So I think that formula needs to be changed slightly. I mean, we do own bond, but not as much as what we should, according to the formula.
So how did you figure out, I guess, like it sounds sort of like you are kind of following like that kind of couch potato investing method. Is that kind of like, how did you kind of figure out, like talking more specifically about index funds, ETFs, how did you figure out, to do it? I know a lot of younger people, that's why they're kind of going to robo-advisors because it makes it very simple to start, but it sounds like you do it yourself. So how did you kind of figure out how to do it yourself?
Well, right now we own two index ETFs. So the Canadian, I think is VCN from Vanguard. Yeah. So that's the Canadian one. And if you look at the top 10 holdings we own, I think we own 9 or 10 out of 10 of these stocks in our dividend portfolio. And then the other index fund we own is VXC, which is the Vanguard X Canada index. So outside of Canada. So that's my exposure for international, so US and other areas. Cool. But in terms of what to pick, I follow the Canadian Couch Potato. That's a great website.
Great resource, yeah.
And Dan has these model portfolio that you could build your portfolio.
Thank goodness for his model portfolios, because so many people use them and they're so helpful.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier now, right? Because with Vanguard, you now could just invest in Canadian currency. Used to be, I think a couple of years ago, his model was like 5 different index funds, and I think 2 of them, the US and the international, are in US currency. So you constantly having to change back and forth, exchange currency. It's a lot more complicated than today. Yeah. So I think that's a great base to start with. Index ETFs, and then if you want to venture out to dividend investing, you could start doing that. And there are ways to pick dividend stocks. For example, you could look at a few. That's the Canadian, right? So Canadian, you could look at a few Canadian index ETFs like the Vanguard, the iShare, and then look at their top 10 holdings. And I could tell you what the top 10s are. Usually it's Royal Bank, TD, probably Bank of Nova Scotia, Enbridge, Manulife, Sunshare, Sunshare Financial. All those. And you could then start buying those individually, right? So.
I guess what's a good way for people to really, because I think what I hear from a lot of people, they're like, okay, I sort of understand the principles, but like, how do I actually do it? Or how do I find out what's in that fund? Like what kind of websites or resources do you use to kind of do some of your research to find a little bit more information?
Right. So if you want to look at, I have written a blog post on it. Or
okay, I will absolutely link to that in the show notes to make it easy for people.
You can check those. But in terms of ETF breakdowns, you just go on their website. So Vanguard, I think VanguardCanada.ca. Okay. And then you just click on the index ETF, so VCN, for example, and then they'll tell you
what's in there.
A summary. Yeah, you could see the entire list. I think it owns don't quote on me, something like 200 something stocks.
Wow.
And then you could just look at, say top 10, and then you go to iShare and other index companies. and look at their breakdowns. Typically for Canadian indexes, it's pretty much the same because there's only a few top Canadian companies, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one way. And then there's dripinvestor.org. I should know drip investing or drip investor.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I could send you a link later. But yeah, they have these, there are a couple folks, they put out these Excel sheets each month. So one is for US dividend stocks, and then the other one is for Canadian dividend stocks. So they kind of rank by how many consecutive years the stock has been increasing dividends by, and then like all the financial data and parameters and all that stuff. So you go down the list, and then they divide them into sectors and stuff. So it's a lot of stuff to learn, especially when you want to, once you want to get into the whole diversification, like you want to own a certain percent in a different sector. Like you don't want to invest everything in banks, for example, or everything in oil and gas. So you want to diversify, and that's a tough thing with Canadian market because we're so financial and oil and gas heavy. So that's where if you want to invest in US stocks, that gives you more diversification.
Totally.
Like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, those are like big international brands, right? Apple, for example. Yeah. So gives you more flexibility. And the other thing, I'm just talking.
Yeah, no, this is great information for people. Yeah.
The other thing is you also need to consider like the TFSA and RSP, right? Because that's another thing you really need to consider income tax.
Yeah, so that's another question for your kind of dividend stocks. Do you house them in an RSP or a TFSA?
Yeah, so I own U.S. dividend stocks only in RSP.
Right.
Because if you own U.S. dividend stocks outside of RSP, then you have to pay 15% withholding tax.
Yes.
So that
could be expensive.
Pretty significant, right? Say I don't know, say Apple gives you 2% dividend and you're getting dinged on 15% of that. That's pretty significant. So I only own U.S. dividend stocks in RSP. And then with TFSA, I own, like, if there's any real REITs, they're real estate income trust. I own those. The Canadian ones, I own those in TFSA. Because with REITs, if you're investing in regular account, taxable accounts, and especially if you're drip means dividend reinvesting plan.
Right.
If you're dripping the REITs, it's really, 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 really complicated to calculate your taxes. So I try to simplify my taxes by only investing in REITs and income trust in TFSA, so I don't have to worry about those. And for taxable accounts, I own like the Canadian stocks that gives you eligible dividend. So like the Royal Bank, the TDs, those you get tax credit. So you're more tax efficient that way.
Okay, good. So that's another thing. It's like not even just thinking about what to invest in, but where to put those investments, what kind of accounts. And it makes a big difference. You have to, I think what you've done is pretty common from what other people have told me. It seems like a very good, smart strategy to be tax efficient because yes, we want to pay our taxes, but if we can save a little bit, why not?
And then my other big thing with the whole FIRE concept is how to withdraw money efficiently. That's another whole topic that's
I know, right? That's a whole other thing. And
especially RSP, like, because you're technically not supposed to withdraw until I think it's 71. You have to.
I believe, it's like on your 71st birthday or 72nd birthday or something.
But you could withdraw early. So there's different strategies. That's one area I'm still trying to learn and explore. And
you got some time probably before you need to dip into that.
Talking to different Canadians that may be further ahead than me, so I could learn from them.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I feel like I've learned a lot. I guess my kind of last question to you, and this is kind of something that why I got so excited about this kind of FIRE movement that I feel like I'm like, I can't believe I had no idea this was even kind of a sub community within the personal finance community, but it's really cool. But what I really think I loved most about it is it wasn't just for specific people that made a really high income and were going to be wealthy and can retire early, which is usually, I think, the concept. That's usually what people think. You're like, you have to be rich to be able to retire early. But it kind of seemed like the whole movement of FIRE is actually about how, kind of like, Andrew Helm from Millionaire Teacher, you don't have to, you can actually achieve early retirement or financial independence on an average salary. You just have to make certain choices with your money. So, like, I guess my kind of question to you is, do you kind of think like what you're doing, it could probably be replicated by almost everyone if they kind of just start making some of those choices and start really paying attention to their money and investments?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we're a single income family, right? So it's not
I didn't know that.
Huge. Like I work, my wife stays at home with the kids. So it's definitely possible. It's all about choices you make in life, right? Like I just, it's about cutting your expenses and obviously to a certain point, you're still enjoying your life. And it's, when it comes down to it, if you're saving 50% or more, you could do it one day. It's a matter of time. Even if you save 40, 30%, you could do it if you start young.
Yeah, it may just take a bit longer, but possible.
And if you're in your 40s, 50s, you would need to save more. Right? It's simple math.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's totally doable, and it's about, again, the choices you make in life, right? If you go, again, I go back to, I like to use the latte factor a lot, because they're like, oh, don't spend $2 or I don't know, latte is like, say $5.
Yeah, it's like a $5-6 drink now.
I know if you save $5 a day and so on, but I'm like, yeah, but if it's something you enjoy every single day, don't take that enjoyment away from your life.
Yeah, right? If it brings you joy, do it.
Exactly. Or even just like a brief moment of happiness. That's a thing that really kind of drove me nuts when I started, because my wife is all about, there's Danish word called hygge. It's about
I love that word so much. It's about be cozy, right?
Yeah, so like having a cup of coffee together, sit around and talk, right? So she's all like, oh, let's go out, have a nice cup of coffee, and then like go to the chocolate store and then get some coffee and get the chocolate and enjoy the moment, right? And on the back of my mind, like this is like years ago, I'm like, but we're spending like this amount of money and so on and so on. But now I kind of changed around, like this is totally worth it. Yeah. And there are other areas we could cut back. For example, other areas. Not going out for food or saving money on other expenses. So it's, again, finding the balance and making your choices in life. Totally. But yeah, I think back to your question, I'm kind of going off the tangent. No,
I like it.
I think FIRE is totally doable with your average salary. Like even if you're starting young, totally could do it. A funny story. Christie took a picture at Millennial Revolution. They took a picture at FinCon, and I was in it. And turns out a high school friend that I haven't really been in contact saw the picture on her website, and then realized it was me. And then it turns out he's already FI since 32.
Oh, so my gosh.
Like, oh my God, I found somebody I could talk to about FIRE and so on and so on. So we started talking on Facebook. So, it's totally doable. And it helps to be part of a community that's supportive of each other, which I'm all about. Like, I feel like that is absolutely the reason that I think I've stuck to my guns and been so like diligent with my finances, and what I hope to kind of share with other people is like being part of a community to talk about it openly will help you reach your goals, because you don't want to feel alone. Like that's how you just won't do it. And I find there are a lot of American FIRE bloggers, or the American FIRE community is pretty big. Yeah. And I think looking at it, I think a lot of people realize, like after the financial crisis, there are more FIRE folks, because people just realize it's not you can't depend on your job.
Or your job, yeah, exactly.
Right. So that, I think that's the point where FIRE grew pretty big. But I really wish there would be more FIRE folks in Canada.
Hopefully after this episode, you'll inspire people, Bob.
Yeah, that'll be great. Because it's so different between US and Canada, right?
I know.
Like Canada, we don't have to care about the healthcare, hopefully.
I know. Knock on wood. Thank God we're so lucky. Yeah.
But just the, TFSA, RSP is completely different than the US. So
yeah.
So the more FIRE people we have in Canada, the better, because then we could learn from each other, talking about the different strategies.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you want to get to
reach out to Bob.
Yeah, reach out to me. Start today, and that'll be great. I mean, I could always learn. I love learning from other people and talking about various topics. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything. I'm just on my journey, right?
Yeah, and you're doing it.
Somebody who's on the journey, we could learn from each other. That would be great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about this. I feel like this is a subject that I have not really had on the show. So I feel like it's going to be it'll open up people's eyes, as it did for me when I learned about FIRE. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. You mean I could do this? Heck yeah. So thank you so much. Before I let you go, where can people find you if they want to learn more information? You
can find me on my blog, www.tawcan.com. That's spelled Tawcan, or just Google Tawcan. Or I think if you Google my name, Bob Lai, Lai, you'll find me. Although the first one might be my photography.
I know there's another. Yeah.
So
awesome. Great. Well, thank you again. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
No problem.
And that was episode 141 with Bob Lai from Tawcan. You can check him out at tawcan.com, and that's spelled Tawcan for Taiwanese Canadian. Easy peasy to remember. But again, you could also check out the show notes for more details about everything that we talked about at jessicamorehouse.com/141. And even though Bob, and I absolutely loved it, that he really did kind of go in depth about what his personal investment strategy is, it is maybe not something, maybe you're just like, that sounds a little bit more advanced than I'm used to. If you're a beginning investor, I don't want this to kind of put you off or scare you off, because the important thing with investing is literally just starting as soon as you possibly can. It is one of the, even though I'm not perfect, I have absolutely made some mistakes in my personal finance journey. The one thing that I did get absolutely right, even though I did make some mistakes in between, is getting started as soon as I can, which was in my kind of mid-20s. And now I'm in my early 30s. I'm so thankful that I did start to even put like $100 away at the time. Again, it was Tangerine index funds, because even though I felt like that really wasn't that much money, well, fast forward 7-8 years, it has grown and grown because I kept on adding to it. Whenever I started to earn more money, I would kind of increase that, amount. And now I'm quite happy with the trajectory of my investments, and I'll also hope to, like Bob, achieve financial independence with my husband one day. So I don't want you to feel like you have to invest in stocks to do what Bob is doing. Start small, with some kind of strategy that is simple and that works with your risk tolerance, and just don't be afraid to even get started. And again, if you have any specific questions, hit me up, Jessica at jessicamorehouse.com. And Bob also is so happy to help too. You can email him, and there's some information about that in the show notes and on his website. Now, I have a couple things that I definitely want to let you know about, but before I get to that important information, here's just a few words about this episode's sponsor. Support for this episode comes from Tangerine Investments. I don't have enough money. I'm worried that I'll lose it all. I don't know enough about investing. It's just too complex for me. Have you ever thought like this before? You're not alone. But that still shouldn't stop you from investing your money and putting it to work toward your financial goals. And a great way to do this is through long-term index-based investing, which you can do easily through Tangerine. Tangerine offers low-cost, diversified investment funds. And the best part is you can get started without ever having to leave your couch. You can learn more at tangerine.ca/investments. Once again, that's tangerine.ca/investments. Okay, so some important info that definitely don't want you to miss out on. So first, my next book club is coming up super, super quickly on Wednesday, February 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is when I'm going to have my next book club. We are currently reading The Year of Less by Kate Flanders, who will also make an appearance on the podcast this season, so look forward to that. But basically, if you're new to this whole book club thing, I started it back in the summer as a way to kind of promote financial literacy and get people excited to read financial books, and to just, make them aware that there are some really damn awesome, not dry and boring financial books out there, I promise. And so this is number 4, and basically it all takes place on Facebook. I do a Facebook Live with the author. This time, Kate will be joining me, and we're going to broadcast it live on my Facebook page and also in my Facebook group, the Money Life Balance Community. And basically all you have to do to take part is read the book, write down and note down any questions that you have to ask the author about the book, and join us live Wednesday, February 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on my Facebook page or in the Facebook group, and then ask your questions live to Kate. That is it. It is a really cool opportunity to read the book and get to know the author, and ask your burning questions in real time. So I hope you join us. For more information and to make sure you get notifications about it, just go to jessicamorehouse.com/book club. I'll also include notes about this in the show notes. So check those out too. And now I want to do something that I have not done for a while. I didn't do it throughout the whole season 5. Sorry, forgive me. But I've been getting a ton of iTunes reviews, and I really appreciate it. So it is my time to give back and give some shout outs to some awesome people who left me some lovely iTunes reviews. This one is from Shy2526 from Canada. I've been listening to Jessica's podcast for the last year and really like her down-to-earth approach. A lot of money podcasts talk just about debt or complicated investments, but Jessica has a good variety of all money topics, and it is always easy to understand. She has a range of guests and always pipes up in with her own life experience as well. I cannot help myself. I do like to talk. Please do a Millennial Money Meetup up next time you are in Vancouver. And this was actually given to me June 28th. So I went to Vancouver. I did a meetup, and I can't wait to do another one. One more. This is from Greek Canadian from Canada, obviously. They say trying to pay off my line of credit debt, and this show was just what I needed since I have lots of time on my hands because my job involves driving countless hours on the highway. Jessica, being a Canadian and not taking yourself too seriously is definitely a bonus. Keep it up, Jess. You're right. I do not take myself seriously because if I did, I would probably get a ton more evil reviews. Believe me, I get some nasty reviews, but they never get shout out, so you'll never know what they are. All right, let's do a couple good ones after that fabulous one. This one is from Movie Hound from Canada. Podcasts are well thought out and contain valuable information. All right. Simple and to the point. I like it. Efficient. Last one for today. Stacy from Sudbury from Canada. Ooh. One of my fave podcasts right now for sure. It makes the time on the elliptical fly by. You're so genuine and relatable and likable. I love it. Ooh, a little emoji of like what was that? The fingers, when the fingers are like, yeah, perfect, or yes, spot on. Anyways, I'm not very good with my emojis, but thank you for the emoji. I love emojis. And thank you everyone who left me a review. I'm going to try my darndest this season to get through every single review and give every single person who left me one a special shout out on an episode. So keep them coming. All you have to do is go to iTunes to leave me a review. It takes like a minute. You can do it on your phone while you're just like waiting for somebody. Also Stitcher. If you leave me a review on YouTube, wherever you want, give them and I will give back and shout you out. Thanks for listening to this episode. I'll see you back here tomorrow because I have a listener series episodes you will not want to miss.